Hey, welcome to part two of our Swoon Ethel Tote Bags sew along. Gosh, I can't believe I was so nervous about this. It's actually going really well and really smooth, and I am shocked and excited. This poplin that I've been using has just been amazing to sew. I don't know what I was expecting, but it's just like my machine loves it. I love it. It feels so great. I'm excited. This is going to be so awesome. I say that, and I think probably today is the hardest part. So I'm kind of like, maybe I was wrong. Sorry, I don't usually wear my hair down, and I don't usually wear it straight. So if I'm like messing with it a lot, I apologize. Anyways, let's just jump right into it because I am kind of more nervous about this than I was about than yesterday. So because this is the whole like shebang, right? This is where you put it all together and hope that it works. So let's go ahead and get started on the assembly of the bag. All right, the first thing we need to do is we need to fold the exterior gusset in half, matching the short ends of our side panels. We need to mark the center along both long edges. I don't like doing this because there's a stabilizer in there and I'm like, it's getting folded. But I'm sure it's okay. Oh yeah, bounced right back. All right. Fold the exterior main panels in half. So here's one of our exterior main panels, the one with the slip pockets. We're going to fold that in half, and we're going to mark the halfway point on that. And our other exterior, we're going to fold, this foam is no joke. We're going to fold that in half. We're going to mark our halfway point on that. All right. All centers should now be marked. Yes, they are. We're going to match the center marks and raw edges. Okay, so we're going to take one of our exterior panels in our exterior gusset, and we're going to match those center marks up. Right sides together. Sorry, we're going to put them right sides together and match at that center mark. Now pin the end of the gusset to the top corner. Okay, so we're going to take the end of our gusset here, this long short edge, and we're going to pin it to the top corner of our exterior panel. And we're just kind of gonna, this foam is like, no ma'am, I don't want to move. Right. We're just gonna pin along to match these pieces up. So it's going to be pretty stiff, especially if you use the foam. You're probably going to want to pin or clip around that curve quite a bit. So you're going to have something that looks like this. It's going to be concaved a bit, dust everywhere, but that's okay. So along the side here, I don't need to pin quite that much because it falls pretty nicely together. But right here in this curve, it's not going to want to lay super great. So I'm just going to really clip that and make sure we've got a nice. Okay, and then we need to do the same thing to the other side. We need to pin it at the top. And match it up here. And around the curve where it starts to get a little tricky. We're going to do a lot of pinning or clipping because if I use pins, I stab myself every time. Okay, so this is the trickier part just because you want to make sure you have a nice curve and everything lines up. So it's going to look like this, and your top will look like this here. Now, what we need to do, you want to also pin through the bottom of the main pocket. Okay, so I didn't put the pocket one on this one, but when we do the pocket, we will. Okay, now we're going to sew along the edge here using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is where this foam is going to be tricky. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. What I'm doing is, as I'm moving, I'm just adjusting my pieces so that they're laying flat and not super curved still. So, sorry. The camera for the sewing machine is probably like a giant ball of white. Still just making sure those raw edges are lining up, but trying to lay it nice and flat as I go. And I'm not pulling or pushing it through the machine. I'm trying to let the machine, I'm letting the machine take it at its own pace, because you don't want it to freak out. I know, that's the technical term for it. But basically, if you pull it or push it, your machine's going to skip stitches. It's not going to stitch evenly. And you don't want that happening, because then your bag's probably going to rip open, right? Like with all your stuff in it. In the middle of the street. That's what would happen to me. Okay, so again, just trying to get it so that it's laying nice and flat without folding it over. So what I mean by that is I'm not letting the other pieces get underneath it, so that I'm sewing 4 layers. All right, so here it is all sewn up now. Wow. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. Okay. Now we also need to do the same to the other exterior piece. I'm going to just line up those raw edges. Clip those top corners. Line up the edges so that follow that curve around. Okay, and then again, when we get to the curve, we're going to do a little bit more pinning than I probably normally would. But it's actually, because it's already kind of taken the shape from this other exterior piece, it's laying a lot nicer. I don't need to pin it quite as much, which is reassuring. Oops. I'm going to pin the top here. I always get so irritated with myself that I get nervous about a sew, and then I sew it and I'm just like, what? That's insane. That's how I feel about this one. I'm just like, oh my goodness. I'm doing so many firsts and it's not going terribly. I actually have a purse like the shape of it. Whew, I'm just overwhelmed. All right, we're gonna go ahead now that we've got it all sewn together, or all clipped together. We're gonna do our 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around the edge there again. And just like with the other side, we're gonna try and make those pieces lay nice and flat as we go along. 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm not gonna, whoops, that's my pedal. We're not gonna push or pull. We're just gonna let the machine do its thing. Again, I apologize with the sewing camera. If it's just like a wall of white, let's see if I can adjust it. No, I can't. Try and get it to lay nice and. This foam is awesome, actually. I'm shocked. I will say with the foam, one thing I did have to do was not attach it according to the directions. So if you do use foam, what I found to work, because I tried using the directions and it was like not having it. Okay. What I had to do instead was I laid it so that the fabric was on top of the foam, and then held it in place for 10 seconds that way. Ooh, this is intense. Anyways, I hope that makes sense what I said. I should have said it in the other video, but I'm trying to make sure I'm not. Every once in a while my machine makes a noise that makes me think it's not very happy. So I keep trying to check to see what could be the problem. And I think it's just because there's so many layers. I probably would have used a walking foot maybe for this. I think that would potentially help. All right. I can't believe it. Y'all, we have the exterior of a bag. And look at it, just sits so nice. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay, trim the seam allowance down to 1/4 inch. I'm going to do that after the video because I think that's another thing that nobody wants to just watch somebody cut something down. Because next we have to do the same thing to the lining. I really want to turn this inside out and look at, like, right side out and look at it, but I don't know if I'm supposed to. Oh, it says open along one side edge of the main panel to turn the bag later. Okay. Repeat this entire step to sew the lining main panels to the lining gusset, leaving a 6-inch opening along one side of the main panel to turn the bag later. I think it's going to be nearly impossible to turn this. It's going to be impossible. Okay, we'll just follow the rules. Follow the instructions. I cannot believe this. This is so cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alright, for the lining again, we're just going to find the halfway point of our two main panel sections by folding them in half. And then we're going to do the same with the gusset. We're going to fold it in half, and that will be our halfway point, and we're going to mark both ends of that. So now, just with our, whoop, there, just with our exterior, we're going to match up that halfway point, line that up, bring the top corner around, match that up. This one won't be as hard because it won't be as stiff. My machine will probably be like, thank you. Okay, and then just around that curve, making sure I've got a nice and even so it doesn't. Okay, and then the top corner, the other side here. Go ahead and match those up. Okay, and here we are. Along. This one I'm just going to sew all the way around, and then I'll leave the 6-inch opening to the, actually I am going to do the 6-inch opening on this one because this does not have the pockets, and I think the pockets are probably going to need, I don't want to mess with the pockets. Alright, and then it says, to avoid a saggy lining, you can start sewing at the top edge at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, then slowly increase the seam allowance to 3/4 inch along the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do my 6-inch opening here, and then when I get to this curve around the bottom, I'm going to start doing a 3/4 inch seam allowance, and then when I get back around to the top of the next curve, I'm going to make it 1/2 inch again. So, whoop. So let's start here with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Go a little ways down. Okay. Leave about a 6-inch opening. Turn it. Hopefully, give it a little bit more. Okay, again, making sure it's laying nice and flat. Oops. We're going to start at 1/2 inch again. And now I'm going to start going, now that I'm on my curve. And pin that a little too soon. Now that I'm on my curve, I'm going to start going more towards a 3/4 inch. So now I'm on the bottom, and I'm doing 3/4 inch seam allowance on the bottom here. Did not do a great job cutting these pieces. I use my projector to cut it, and my pieces are slightly uneven. Alright, I'm going up my other curve now, and I'm going to start heading back towards my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'll be right there, Bug Bug. Thank you. What? No, just go start the show. I'll be right there. I'm almost done. What?
Before we start the show, I wanted to cuddle with you.
Alright, I'll be right there. Give me 1 second. Alright. We've got to finish this because apparently someone wants to cuddle with me. Alright, I hope that's 6 inches. I'm not so sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my opening is more like 5 inches, but I think it'll be okay. just checking to make sure. It's not windy. It's not windy if you can hear the wind chimes. He's just playing with them. Alright, same thing. We're gonna match up. We're gonna match up our halfway points. Match our top here. I'll go down. I'm so sorry. We're gonna go around the curve. Now we're going to match the other top point up. Down. And curve. And we're not going to do a 6-inch seam allowance on this one. We're just, or 6-inch opening. We're just going to sew all the way around this one. So same thing. We're going to sew around. We're going to start at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then once we get to about this point of the curve, we're going to start adjusting to a 3/4 seam inch allowance along the bottom, and then again once we get to the next curve we're going to start heading back to that 1/2 inch seam allowance. So, alright. So we're at the 1/2 inch seam allowance. About to hit the curve. We're going to start to lengthen to 3/4 seam allowance now. Heading back up the curve, we're going to start to go back to our 1/2 inch seam allowance. So once we get to that side, we'll be back at 1/2 inch. Alright, so now we have assembled our lining in our main bag. So we've got the main bag and the lining, the exterior and the lining. I'm so excited. I cannot believe that this is actually coming together so well. I'm just shocked. All right, so now that we've got everything assembled, I am going to go cuddle with Little Man for his bedtime show. And then tomorrow we will be attaching our handles, attaching the lining into our main, flipping it all over, and we're done. I cannot believe this, y'all. Look how awesome this is. I can't believe I made this. I think I'm going to also try and look for, I have a magnetic closure from one of the sew-alongs that we did this Christmas from Emmy Made. I think it's Emmy Made Bags. Or no, Emmy Made. Emmy Made is something different. Don't mind me. But Emmeline Bags. Anyways, I have a magnetic closure that I think I'm going to add to it just to help keep it clipped closed. But yeah, I'm excited. This is turning out so awesome. I cannot believe it. I was really nervous about it, and it's actually looking really good. Yay! So I will see you tomorrow where we attach our handles and we finish up our bag. See you then. Bye.